heroes and there are legends. Heroes come and go. Legends never die. We usually say that you cannot become a legend before death. These are living legends. If the legends fall silent, who will teach the children of our ways? Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 5, brought to you by Titan Sensor, is proud to present The Legends. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches Podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 5, the Legends Series. And today I'm joined by a true legend, one of the last of the hard, Coach Erik Soliday. Thanks for being on with me.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you having me.
Well, Coach, I know the story of how you got here, but where did you, how you got to Georgia, but where did you grow up?
I grew up in a tiny little mining town in West Virginia, coal mining town, and we had a little old school, about 300 kids, and right up on the high river. That's where I grew up.
And what all did you play in high school?
Well, I played football and basketball and ran track, and we were a little old town, but we were really known for football. I think we had went to the state championship about 10 years in a row, and Sistersville, West Virginia was known for its football, and I was very fortunate to play there, and we had a really good run back in the day.
So did you win a state championship as a player when you were in high school?
I did. Our senior year, we won it. Coach Soliday, my high school coach, he came in when I was a freshman, and we had like 16 kids on the team, because all we did starting August 1st was we did Oklahoma for about 2 hours, and then we would line up and just tackle for an hour. And but when he came here, we were bad before he got there, and it was rough. And so 16 of us, and there I was, a little freshman, and all you could do was half line and practice. He'd tell me I'd go to running back this play, and it was be a runner play, or he'd put me at a receiver as a pass play. It didn't take him long to figure out where the ball was going, so I really learned a lot about football that year.
Getting hit anyway.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where you learn football, though. That's these young kids have got to. I try to explain to them, you learn football on the scout squad. You don't learn it on the other side. You learn it on this side, because that's what makes you respect it. And then when you get your chance on the other side, you get your hits back. So
did you get an opportunity to play college balls at all?
I did. I played at Fairmont State College and started for 4 years, and it was I enjoyed it. I played for some good coaches there, and it was just a great opportunity.
So did you know all along you were going to be a coach, or did you go to college to do something else and wander into the wrong line?
Well, I actually started out, I thought I was going to be a coach and a teacher. And, I started out as a math teacher, and it didn't take me long to figure out that's probably was not what I should be doing. And so I changed into industrial arts, which they call technology now, I guess, but it was shop class back then, and I became a shop teacher.
So what was your first job out of college?
At Turner County High School.
Oh, really?
I was a shop teacher. Yep. I came, I coached at Fairmont for 4 years after my playing days were over. Then I coached there for 4 years.
Did you GA or did you just coach?
Well, I started out, my first year was a GA, and then I got hired on after that year for the next 3. And then headed south and took a job at Turner County after that.
Yeah, the story I always heard is you were driving down I-75 and just happened to stop, and it was like they needed a coach, and you applied, and you got it.
Well, it's kind of the way it was. Actually, I was coaching at Fairmont State, And we were at the National Coaches Convention that year. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. And Terry Bowden was the coach at Salem, which was kind of our rival school. They were about 30 miles from us. And we were standing there talking with him and his dad. And Bobby Bowden knew every job, high school, college, and pro in the eastern half of the United States off the top of his head. And I was actually headed to Boca Ciega, Florida, to interview for a job there at Clearwater, Florida. And as I was coming down the interstate, there was a sign that said Turner County, and I remembered him saying Turner County. So I pulled off. I went and found the board office, talked to Mr. Jimmy Albertson, who was superintendent at that time, and went on down to Florida. And then when I got back to West Virginia, there was a message on my answering machine to call them, and I called them, and they offered me the job, and told my wife we'll go down there for a year or two, and here we are about however long it's been, 36, 37 years later, still here. She reminds me of that too every once in a while.
Yeah, you never made it to the Florida gig.
Never made it down there. We're back. So she always reminds me it was only going to be a year or two.
So how long were you at Turner the first time?
I was there 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, yep.
And it was your first head coaching job. What was that like? And we always talk about how your first head coaching job was like trying to drink out of a fire hydrant.
Man, it was, nothing really prepares you for all the other things that you don't know about until you get into the fire. And it was, that first year, I'm sure she was ready to divorce me then because, I was never home. Had kids, but was never home because there was just so much learning and so much to do. And, as a young coach, especially at a small school, you didn't just coach football. You had to go get kids, take kids home, wash clothes, clean the floors, sweep, paint the field, cut the field, fertilize the field, weed eat. You did everything. There was no anybody that did something else. You took care of everything. That's just what was expected. And so, it was a lot of work.
Mr. Albertson was a good man too.
Great guy. He was He was the kind of guy you loved to work for because whatever he said, that's how it was. If he said no, you just dropped it. If he said yes, you better get ready to do it right then. And there was no gray area, and it was nice working for a guy like that.
So what was your staff like your first head coaching job? Were you able to go ahead and start building your staff for the future there?
No, really, when I came in, there was we had two coaches there. I had Monty Cowart, who eventually moved on, was down at Berrien County for many years, assistant principal, coached baseball. And a guy named Scott McGinney, who became a guidance counselor eventually. But that was only two coaches I had then, and that's who was there, and I didn't get to bring anybody in. So I had those two, and that first year we made it work though. And then my second year I was able to bring in another coach, and so we ended up with four. And then that was pretty much my staff for, I guess, till I hired my brother Casey about 5 years later, I guess. But one left, so I still only had four at that time. So it was still small staff, but we made it work.
So that was pretty cool getting to work with your brother.
Yeah, it was, back then we only fought probably once a week, so it was okay. But now that I'm older, we probably wouldn't fight but once a month.
Well, that's good. Anytime you can work with your kin folks, that's got to be fun to do, whether it's your kids or your brothers.
Well, I've been fortunate. I worked with my brother for 20-something years, and then my son Michael's been here with me for 6 years, so that part has been good.
So what? How did things go those 8 years at Turner County? I know how they went, but tell everybody how winning, losing. How did those first 8 years go?
They went pretty well. We were very fortunate. They'd been down, and I don't think really a whole lot of people wanted the job, to be honest. And that's probably how I got it. But we were very fortunate. We made playoffs that very first year, and that kind of really got us going a little bit. And then we were able to win a bunch of games, and won a couple of region titles in there somewhere. And we were just seemed like every year we matched up with Lincoln, I think 3 times when they won the state title, and then Clinch a couple of times when they won it. in the playoffs. And then one year we messed up with Brooks when they won it. And then 2 years we matched up with Mitchell Baker when they won it. So it just seemed like we always would find that team in the playoffs that was really, really good. But we had some pretty good teams. We had some really good kids, and it was a good little run there.
And then where'd you end up after Turner?
Well, I thought I would try the metro area, so I went up to Henry County, and just really found out the metro area really wasn't for me. I was just an old country boy, and that's where I needed to be, not up in the city.
So how long were you at Henry County?
2 years. 2 years. And the problem there was, we had some good kids there and some good support and all that, but there was going to be 6 schools built in the next 4 years that were going to pull kids from you every year. So you never really could build anything because it was growing so fast and they were building so many schools that part of your kids were going here, and the next year part here, and the next year part here. So you couldn't really build anything. And it was just tough to have any, you might think you've got 22 kids coming back, but then 10 of them were going to another school. So it made it tough for a while right there.
Yeah, you go from a small single-A rural school to a metro area where, like you said, they're building all those new schools. I imagine that was like completely the opposite end of the spectrum. And back then there was 4 classifications?
That's right.
So they were probably what, 3A, 4A?
4A.
Good Lord.
It was tough.
Yeah,
that's
the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
And like I say, that place was just growing so fast. There was just subdivisions going up everywhere, right and left. And, all them schools were I don't even know all of them now, but there was only 3 when I went there. There was Stockbridge, Eaglesland, and Henry. And like I say, now there's probably 10 schools up there.
Yeah, and we all know when we head up north to Atlanta, you get to that area and you come to a standstill.
Yes, it's the worst interstate spot in Georgia. It's terrible right there. It's always backed up.
Yeah, it's just grown
That's
so
Eagles
much.
Landing there. Yeah.
It's crazy. And you were there at the very beginning of it. So after Henry County, where'd you end up going?
I went to Americus and was there for 5 years, and that was 5 great years we had there. I really loved my time there.
So what was your first year in Americus? What year was that?
99. We ended up losing to Swainsboro in the playoffs in overtime that year, and Swainsboro had a heck of a team that year. That's when Coach Teague was over there, and they were starting a good run right then, and boy, they were loaded that year.
And then what happened the next year?
Next year we were fortunate enough to we went 15-0 and won a state title, and we won the state title the next year, and then following year we lost to Buford in the Dome, and then the following year we lost to Vidalia in the 3rd round, I think it was.
So what was that first state championship like? I mean, did you what was that like for you? I mean, you'd won one as a player. Awesome. What was it like? You winning your first one as a head coach? It was a great feeling.
I'm telling you, it was especially that year because it was, we really wasn't necessarily expecting to win a state championship. We thought we had a chance to be pretty good, but every week was like, a game, and we got to try to win this week. And there was literally no looking past anybody because we really didn't know how good we were. And so it was just, every week was a challenge. It was just a great group of kids, and we ended up winning it. And that was a great feeling knowing that, because, that place needed it. There wasn't a whole lot in America, and they needed football. And that first championship really kind of rejuvenated that place and got that town all back behind everything, and got them excited again. And it was a good time.
You had another great administrator there too. Your principal was awesome.
Miss Juanita Wilson was a great, great principal. She loved sports. She loved the kids. I can honestly say I was there 5 years, and I don't remember anything that school did, be it a band concert, a course, whatever it was. She was at everything. And the kids knew it. They'd look for her, and if a running back would fumble on Friday night, they knew Monday she was going to call them up to the top of the steps and get on their butt. And she was hard on them, but they loved her. and she was a great lady to work for.
And that makes a big difference.
Oh, administration makes all the difference in the world. Sometimes I don't think people realize how much administration makes such a difference. You look at great programs that were really, really good for a good period of time, then all of a sudden take a drop. That ain't because they forgot how to play football. Usually there was a principal change or a superintendent change. And you can go to almost every good program and see when it dropped, and you'll probably see there was an administration change. And sometimes with administrators, priorities change or whatever, and it just makes a big difference.
So you coming off the first state championship, did y'all know did y'all have everybody coming back or most everybody coming back?
We had a good group of them coming back. We had enough. We thought we probably should win it that year. And I'm not going to lie, the first year was exciting. The second year was kind of a relief after we won it. You're excited for winning it, but at the same time, it was like, thank goodness we won it, because we really felt like we should have. And that year was more of a relief that we won as opposed to excitement.
And what a staff you had. I've had Coach Truitt on already. Chris Wade's one of my best friends I've ever met. And your brother was on your staff. You just had like a great staff in a AA program. The region
Darren
was
Alford
unbelievable.
Sly was
Coach Alford,
he was on that staff. So we had some good ones.
And that region y'all were in was good. Lord, Murderers Row.
That was tough, man. Early was so good back then. Mitchell Baker was good. Brooks was good. I mean, it was a tough region.
Turner was in your region.
Yep. Turner was in there.
You had Sumter, Seminole, Albany.
Yep.
People forgot about that region. Albany doesn't even exist anymore.
Albany was good back then too. They ran that split back veer back then and did a great job with it.
And then you had Sumter because it was pre-consolidation, and
that's right.
They would be huge.
Yes, every year they had some players, and man, they were really good too.
So you stayed there for 5 years, and they started talking about consolidation. Is that what made you decide to look somewhere else, or did you just feel like it's time to change? Or
we had a superintendent that come in there and really didn't know a whole lot about sports, and they were trying to consolidate the year before, and it would have been in between scheduling years. And I tried to tell him, I said, we can't do it this year. They're not going to let us play in the playoffs. And he said, well, we'll fight it. And I said, you can go fight whoever you want, but they're not going to let us play as a 4A school in the AA playoffs if we merge in between years. But he wanted to go up, so we went up to the meeting. And like I said, I already knew they met me out in the hallway and told me what was going to happen. And they said, no, we won't. We're not going to let you play in AA and be eligible for the playoffs. So they put it off for a year. But you're sitting there. There was also some board seats up. Well, depending on who won, because the vote was so close, if this guy would have lost his board seat and another one take over, the whole merger would have ended. So it was such a chaos. They were sitting there in February, still didn't have a plan, had no idea what they were doing. I was like, man, this is going to be a mess. And so I said, best for me just get out and let them start with somebody new.
And that's when you went back to Turner.
I went back to Turner.
Yep. And I was at Turner at the time.
I don't remember what the year was, 2000 something.
2003. 2003.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
But, and I hated leaving Mary Riddick because I loved it there. It was a great football town. Great football town. The people there knew football. They loved football. The kids they worked so hard. They loved football, and they'd do anything in the world for you.
Well, any place where you've got two legends like Coach Hightower and Mr. Coach Alton Shell, as the kids used to call him, still coming to the games, still sitting on the 50-yard line, still involved.
Yeah, I used to let Coach Shell used to come watch practices, and it was awesome for me. I tried every day to get him to come out and say, come out here and walk around, come out here and talk, do whatever. He just, all he wanted to do was sit there and watch. And but it was great having him around. And but there's always a flip side of that too. We'd won, I guess, back-to-back championships, lost in the Dome, to Buford, and then the next year lost in the third round. We were 11-2, I think. And the newspaper guy wanted to do an end of the year wrap up, and he said, "Coach, what are y'all going to do next year? Try to turn this thing back around." So we've lost 4 games in 5 years. I'm not really sure what we're going to do, I guess, but
and set the bar too high.
Yeah, what are we going to do to turn this thing around? I don't know.
So I don't know what y'all are going to do to turn it around, but I'm headed back to the fire ant capital of the world.
Oh, man.
So your second stint at Turner County was very successful as well.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We had some good kids and some good players, and we were able to win a lot of games there in that little stretch. And it was a good time there.
How many of you guys were you able to take with you?
I think I took 4. I'd really be honest, I don't really remember, but I know I took more than any staff I had my first 8 years there. I was able to take more coaches than I ever had before. And
that makes a difference because they've been with you. They know what to do. They know the plan, and they're knowledgeable, And like you said, it ain't just 4 of you,
And they knew how to work. They knew how we did things. You didn't have to spend a lot of time in meetings going over things. It was practice planning because I already knew what to do. You know what I mean? So that makes a huge difference. Cohesiveness like that is huge.
So how long were you there your second time?
I think 9 years.
So you spent 17 years of your career, over half of your career at Turner County.
At Turner County, yep.
Must have really liked it there.
Well, I still live there, and
good place. Oh, Lee Brown's seafood market is a good place to eat, ain't it?
Yeah, you got one good place to eat. You got 3 Mexican restaurants and 3 liquor stores. So that's about all that's in Ashton is Mexican restaurants and liquor stores.
Yeah, when we lived there, we lived in them little duplexes back behind off 41. And we used to laugh and tell people, we're like, they got a Chinese place, a Mexican place, and a soul food place. I said, but here's what's the crazy thing. Some Asian people own the soul food place, a black man owns the Chinese place, and 2 white women own the Mexican restaurant.
That's right.
I said, but that's what you got. And then you got Lee Brown Seafood, and it's good. And you go to the interstate, you got your Huddle House and a Shoney's.
There you go.
And then, because you've lived there forever, you get a Zaxby's or you get a, something, and you're like, man, we're getting a Zaxby's. Or, we're getting a Christmas.
For something new. I can remember when Zaxby's went in, the cars was clear out into the highway the first time they opened. It ain't like they hadn't eaten Zaxby's before, but it was just something new in town, and the cars was out in the highway to try it. Oh,
but
man.
the good thing is Tifton's close enough where if you want to go out to eat or, if you want to go to, back when people went to movies, you go and there's a little shopping. I mean, can get there and it's close enough and you can get to a bigger grocery store if you want to. I mean, we go down there and eat at Yugi? I don't know, some hibachi place. We'll still drive down there from Hawkinsville.
Well,
we like to go.
Yeah, it's in terms of great little school. I mean, it's a good place. It's small and it's kind of a family-oriented place. And one of my former players is the head coach there now, DeMario Barber, and great young man, and they're going to do a great job there. So it's and I hope they do. I always pull for them. I want it to always be good because they're another town that needs good football, and. I'm always pulling for them.
So
except for 1 week out of the year.
That's right.
And that's when we played them last year.
So where did you go after that?
I went to Perry. Spent 2 years at Perry.
And is that where did you retire from Perry or did you?
No, I actually left there and went back to America Sumter. Well, it was America Sumter when I left there. And then I retired from there. But I spent 2 years at Perry. and
another metro kind of situation.
Yeah, it was a little different, but that was one of them jobs I knew at the time I probably shouldn't have taken because I couldn't bring a lot of folks in, and they wanted me to keep a lot of folks that were there, and that just doesn't always work out well, especially if someone wanted the job. It doesn't always work out well, and I knew I was kind of fighting a battle there, and so, like I say, America's Sumter came open, and I thought I'd love to go back over and see if we can't get the thing turned back around.
And that's where you finished out your public school career.
That's right. We went back over there and got it turned around pretty quick and got in the playoffs, and then won a couple rounds that last year and ended up losing to Thompson. Lost in, I think we lost in overtime, actually. But
so after you retired, you couldn't stay away from it, and got offered an opportunity. Right. Got offered the opportunity to go to Tift area.
That's right,
and that's where you are now.
Been there 7 years now. It's hard to believe I've been retired for 7 years, but been 7 years I've been doing this, and I still love it. I mean, heck, I'm getting up there. I've been coaching for 40-something years, I guess, but I still love it. I still love Sundays more than any day of the week. I love coming here on Sunday and meeting and game planning and watching film, and I still like practice, still like the games. So.
And you got another great administrator. One of my first mentors, Stacy Bell. He's one of the best. He
was, he retired, and we've got a new headmaster now. But I had him for my first 6 years, and he was a good one to have. He understood sports and football, and he just kind of let you do your thing, and it was nice to have a guy like that.
So you got a new headmaster now.
Now we got a new headmaster, and he's been good. I mean, it's only been 1 year, or 3/4 of a year, but he's been good. He's the same way. He kind of supports you, and he's been here to, whatever you need, and so it's been good too.
And y'all have had really good success at Tift area here recently, hadn't you?
Well, we've been pretty fortunate. We've made it to the state semifinals 5 out of 7 years. Just can't get past it and get to the championship. We've lost in the semis for 5 times. 4 of those was to John Millage. So they had a pretty good run going there.
What are you going to do to turn it around, Coach?
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for somebody to come ask me that, here, but I really don't know. But
get John Millage out of there.
That's the only way. Make them move to another class or something.
So who are some of the best players that you've either coached or seen over the years?
Well, we've had some and we've seen some. Leonard Pope was a really good football player. Leonard was, of course, he played tight end on offense and he played safety on defense. People look at him now and don't believe, that he was a safety, but in high school he was 6'6" then, but he was only about probably 220 in high school. But he would come down and knock your lights out. I mean, he was one of the most physical hitters I've ever seen, and he would come down and hit you. And he was really good on defense. In fact, I always thought he was better on defense than he was offense, but he was such a big target at tight end, and ended up having a great career at Georgia and then in the NFL. But he was a really, really good player. I still remember, we were playing Albany, and Scott Horton was the coach there then, and he did a great job with that veer. They'd 3 yard you to death and just eat clock up on you. And we came in at halftime. I think it was probably 20-0, but it felt like it was just like we hadn't even had the ball, because they eat it up on you. And so just really wasn't real happy. And I came in, I got on them pretty good at halftime and got on Leonard pretty good. And they run that dive option first play of the third quarter. And Leonard dropped down and hit the quarterback and knocked him backwards about 5 yards in the air. And they never ran he didn't have to worry about him running again. As soon as the ball was snapped, he pitched it. It changed the whole demeanor of that football game. And Leonard come over and asked me, is that better? And I said, yeah, that was better. But yeah, he was a really good one. And I had a couple of receivers at that time that could fly. John Harris and Jermaine Allen could fly. They were just so fast. They were really good. And we always felt like you might have one good DB, but you probably ain't got two that can run with these guys. And so our motto back then was just chunk it deep and let one of them run under it, and they did.
And you had some good quarterbacks that could chunk it deep too.
We did. Robert Johnson was excellent. Every quarterback we had over there was a first team All-Stater because they could sling it around, and Robert was really, really good. He was a really smart quarterback, and he could throw it, and he could always put you in a good situation. And I remember we played. Let's just give you an example about Robert. We were playing Lee County, and I think Coach Bohan was the coach over there then. And we come out, and they were straight man-to-man zero. And, this isn't the Lee County. I knew this is Lee County old. And Robert looked over at me, and he was tapping his hip for the fade route, and I just shook my head, yeah. Touchdown. We held him and got the ball right back. We come out there still straight manned up. He looks over at me, taps his hip, and I shake my head, yep. 4 plays in a row, 4 straight touchdowns, they're straight zero. We come out the 5th one. It's 28-0. There's like 6 minutes gone in the first quarter. They come out straight zero. He looks over at me. I just said, no. Hand it off. I thought he was going to cry, but I said, no, hand it off.
But he knew to look.
Yeah, he wanted to throw the fade again, but I said, no, hand it off. But he was a great quarterback.
And in America, there's always going to be some leverage.
Oh, yeah.
They play defense.
There's always leverage. Yes. And would hit you.
And would strike you. I was about to say, and would knock your face off.
Yes. But, we've been fortunate over the years. At Turner, I had, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we had 6 or 7 All-State quarterbacks at Turner over them years. So we've been fortunate to have some good quarterbacks.
And your brother, was he your offensive coordinator all those years? Or did y'all do it together?
Well, we usually did it together, but he did a lot of it, because we'd be trying to get on the same page during the game. He was, I like to throw it around a little bit, and he liked to run it. So he was my line coach. So, obviously he wanted to run it. So.
Yeah. We do like to run it, and I know Coach Truitt was with you until he went off to Monroe.
Yep,
and
did a great job.
Rick Torvik was with you forever.
Yep, John Rick Torvik with me forever, and he retired, went up to Tennessee as a head coach up there, and he's still up in Tennessee. And Coach Truitt, I was able to get him back with me for a year at Tift area. He come and was my defense coordinator for a year, and did a great job here. The kids loved him, and he's a good coach and always does a great job.
So what are some of the things over the years about the game, good, bad, or indifferent, that's changed that, whether it's technology or just the way young coaches are, or just the admin? What are some things you've noticed that have just changed?
Well, some good and some bad. Technology has been good in some ways. You got Huddle now, and you can just trade films with a click. The only downside to that is, a lot of times you don't even get to talk to coaches from other teams. You just trade film. In the old days, you'd get up in the morning and you'd go meet somebody and trade film, and you get to talk to them, meet them, whatever. You get to hear their problems as well as yours, and
didn't feel as
which
alone.
Was always a good thing. And my oldest son, his favorite thing was to get up, because we'd get up Saturday morning early, and because I'd have to go swap film, and he'd be waiting on me, and I'd go get a chocolate milk and a little cake or something, and then he'd get the newspaper and he'd read the scores off to me on the way to go trade film, and he loved that. But you don't have that kind of stuff anymore. So technology has helped as far as that goes, and watching film and all that. But at the same time, it's kind of took the personal relationships and things out of it. So that part, is kind of good and bad. And the entitlement is different now with kids. Back in the day, kids were, I hate to say tougher, but I think they were tougher. They didn't have as cell phones and computers and all the things they've got now. They had to go outside and play, and now they just kind of, their whole social is on the telephone, I think. And so, and all our kids used to work. I mean, we had to practice in the summertime in the evening because all our kids was either in the watermelon cantaloupe field, and they'd get home and we'd practice at 7 o'clock in the evening. They'd come in just covered with dirt from head to toe. And now I don't think I've got a kid that does that. So that part has changed too. And there was just something to that work ethic that kids used to have. And I know times have just changed, but that's part of it. But, it's still, I love it. It's still blocking and tackling. That part hadn't changed any. And, like I said, there's been good changes and bad changes.
What are some things in the coaching profession, besides the personal relationships? One thing I've noticed is young coaches are a little bit different these days as far as you don't see as many guys out at the 50-yard line just, visiting before the game.
No, they're a lot different. They, they want to be coordinated on Friday night, but they don't want to watch film and do all the other work through the course of the week. But let me look pretty on the sideline and you put a headset on Friday and look the part. They don't, and because of technology, they don't understand the days where, as coaches, we had to mop the floors and wash the clothes and cut the grass, fertilize the grass, water the fields, line the fields. We had to do everything. These guys really haven't experienced a lot of that because nowadays not everybody has to do that. And, we used to have to scrimp and scrape for everything we had. Knee pad got ripped, you kept it and taped it up, and probably a freshman had it. So nowadays it's not quite that bad, but back in the day it was, and hip pad would rip off, well, it'd become something else. And because you just didn't have the money. And not everybody's been through that. And I think the old guys, like some of us that have been through that when things were tight, really appreciate what you got. Where maybe younger guys don't have that same appreciation because they've never been through those tight times. And so that makes it a little bit different.
Yeah, when you have to take old hip pad and turn it into a knee pad, or you got to take a knee pad and turn it into 2 knee pads, or you got to take a knee pad and put 2 of them together to make a thigh pad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I was in high school, I remember Coach Soliday would call us over there, and he had a box of Reader's Digest, and that's what we used for thigh pads. And he said if it's too big, rip some pages out. We stuff that in our pants for thigh pads. I mean, that's all we had.
Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
That's awesome for thigh pads. So over the years, you've done it for a long time and been a head coach your whole career as a high school coach.
Yep.
Who are some of the guys over the years that you've just enjoyed competing against, or whether they got you or you got them? Who are some of the guys over the years that you just built relationships with and just really thoroughly enjoyed going up against or hanging out with and stuff like that?
Well, early on, Jack Johnson was one of those guys that really looked up to because, offensively he was really, really good. And he did a lot of things. And I learned a lot of stuff from Jack Johnson. He was a good football coach. And I really enjoyed my time getting to know him and coaching against him. And we had some great games over the years. Clay Hill at Crisp, we had some great contests with them. And it was always fun coaching against them. And he was a really good guy. And got to know him over the years, and we had a lot of good battles when I was at Turner with Crisp, and then when I went to Americus, we had some good battles with him, and that was always 2 guys right there that were quality guys that were fun to go up against. And there was just a bunch of them over the years. Donnie Clack over at Wilcox did a great job over there, and I don't know if you know Donnie Clack, but Donnie was a good football coach and did it for a long time. We had some great battles with Wilcox back in the day.
Well, did you see the other day where Coach Harry Wayne Parrish passed away last week?
No, I did not. That's a shame. There's been a bunch of them here within the last year. But
he was at Early
over Early County.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yep, I remember him being over there.
And you called out Scott Horton, man. I forgot all about Coach Horton, man. He did a great job at Albany.
He did. They ran that beer really well. And that was about the last I remember them being pretty good too.
Well, who was the guy that was at Sumter all those years? That
Lloyd Brochu.
There, Brochu, that's it.
Yep. Lloyd Brochu. He was a long time. His wife ended up being the superintendent in Marcus.
That's right. I couldn't remember his name. I just remembered that they'd put I can't remember if it was y'all or somebody else that they were keying like a certain kid's number, and they put like they had a receiver wearing number 55 or something crazy like that. He always had great big linemen. Oh, Coach Campbell.
Oh, yeah, they always did. I knew Larry Campbell. We met up with him all them years, and I tell you, that rascal would, we played him at our place 3 years in the playoffs, and he would always go to Cordele and practice and warm up, and then he'd show up at the game right before kickoff. And, you'd always try to make sure, are they in here, they there, whatever. So we went to their place. I don't even remember the year now. And we stopped and warmed up at Thompson. And then we drove up to that place right before kickoff, and he was all flustered, running around, worried about if we was going to get there, whatnot. And I said, ain't too fun, is it? And we ended up beating them that night. And that was the first time they'd lost before Thanksgiving in like 25 years or something. And I heard a knock on the locker room door, and it was a state patrolman. He said, Coach, we're going to get you out of here. That's what you're talking about. And I looked out the door, and everybody was still there. I mean, all the crowd was still out there. And he said, we're going to pull the bus right up here to the door. You just step out of the locker room on the bus, and we'll get you out of town. So that's what we did. We stepped out of the locker room right onto the bus, and they escorted us out of town.
Oh, man. That's awesome. And there was the big rain game, was that the state championship game at y'all's place? Was that the second year or the first year?
That was the first year Washington Wilkes game. Yep. And it was there was some kind of rain come too. I'm telling you what, I've never seen a field covered in about 6 inches of just clear water. But I knew we was going to finish that night. Coach Vaughan was the coach at Washington Wilkes at that time. I told him, I said, I don't care if it's 3 a.m, Coach, we're going to finish this thing tonight. So we waited it out and was able to go back and play. But the next year was Early County in the championship. The next year, and that's when Trey Wolf was a coach, and that's another guy that was just a great football coach.
Yes, he was. I got to work for him for 6 years down at Early County. His defensive, he could run man to man. Those guys would come off man and make tackles. I don't know how you ever coached it like that, but they could do it. And he was a very good coach. 4-4 cover 0.
Yep. And he could do it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time down there. He's one of the most intelligent people I've ever been around. Very, very cerebral. Good golfer, too. Really good. Good people. But just hearing you talk about these guys, I mean, you got to coach against some really great high school coaches in the South, especially in South Georgia, that, and Coach Vaughan, who'd been everywhere.
Yes.
I forgot that he was at Lee County.
And let me tell you something. When I came to the GIAA, there's some really good coaches in this league. Bill Murdoch over at Terrell Academy is a heck of a football coach. That guy does a great job over there. He's been in this league probably his whole career, I guess, and kind of probably got overlooked because of his GIA, but he's a heck of a ball coach. Oh yeah,
but it's just hard to quantify and explain that to people. When you try to explain that to other people, because they think, oh well, it don't matter if you're a football coach, you're a football coach.
That's right. You teach them to block and tackle. It's all the same. And obviously, it's a little relative as far as where you're at, whether it be 6A, single A, GIAA. But, this day and age, it's so different too, because people transferring and getting kids moving in and whatnot. It makes it tougher too. There ain't a lot of, these were kids that grew up here that won a championship, anymore it's kind of a lot of move-ins.
That's changed about the game a lot since you've been.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
Since we all got started.
Yep.
And, that's why the rural schools, They ain't coming from nowhere.
No.
You got who you got.
Yeah. That's right. There ain't nobody moving to a lot of them. So
yeah, it's pretty hard unless they're near one of the big, whether they're near Moultrie or near Valdosta or near
that's right.
Tifton or somewhere like that. And even then, it ain't like they still ain't close.
No,
it ain't like the metro areas where you could throw a rock and hit a school. Hit 3 schools.
Yeah,
down
I can
the
move
road.
a block and go to a different school, but yeah, it is definitely different.
Well, Coach, I sure am glad that you took time to share your story with us and that you're still pouring into young people, and I hope you continue to do it as long as you're healthy and have the love and enjoy going on Sundays.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and like I said, I still love it. As long as my body will let me do it, I'm going to try to do it. And the question when you get to this point is you just don't know how much longer your body's going to say, I'll keep doing it, but I'm going to try anyway.
Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.